So it's Wednesday afternoon. You've got this report that's due tomorrow, Thursday, and you already know that there's going to be issues about getting it in on time. So what do you do now? So a lot of times, if you're in a plant manager situation, it's to send out another email to make sure it's urgent to everybody. You push harder. Maybe pick up the phone and call somebody and make sure that they're going to get it in on time. Resend the email with the deadline in bold. Okay. But the report still shows up late or half done or not at all. And you're just chasing. And you're the one who has to explain it. So here's what I've learned in 25 years in working manufacturing, 10 years of executive coaching and speaking, is that a missed deadline is usually not the problem. There's a problem beneath the problem. And that gap opened up before Wednesday in how you showed up and how you made it clear and how you followed up on it. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly how it broke, how the next Thursday doesn't look like the last Thursday. So in episode 170, we talked about the manufacturing greatness model. We're just going to apply in these episodes, some of these solo episodes on this podcast, we're going to use some real life scenarios. So I don't make these up. These are just usually not from one plant. It's usually a few plants that I've heard it happen at. So you never really know what plant I'm talking about because it just happens everywhere. But it doesn't have to. And you can listen to this right now in the next 10 minutes. You won't have to live the same Thursday again. So if you look at the first gap as the showing up gap, it's space between how we think we show up versus how other people experience us. Hey, I'm motivational and I'm getting people motivated to get that project done. How did you show up when that first happened, right? Was it a conversation? Was it just an email that just went out and said, hey, by Friday, I need everybody to do this? Maybe you're a project manager. Maybe you're an engineer working on a project needing people. But this whole first step, that showing up gap. So how do you want people to experience you, right? So if you're going to be experienced in a way that it's a back and forth conversation, hey, here's the project, here's the requirements. How's that land with you? What are the questions that you're asking to show that, hey, I see you as a person, not just a cog to get something done for me? Okay, so it's going to be a little bit more dialogue on, hey, what you're up against, what's going to take to do this, what does that look like? So you do that not on Wednesday, but let's say you knew last Friday, that's when you have the conversation. Okay, so you set that up because how you show up impacts on how people feel. And how you make people feel determines the extent to which they can engage with you. So, just having that conversation of, hey, I hear you. I want to hear what's going on. And you're not looking for excuses on why they can't do it, right? You're looking for real roadblocks. Hey, what's this going to mean to you? How much time is this going to take? What space do you need? Do we need to cancel a meeting? We can have different conversations of what that looks like, okay? The second gap is the expectation gap. So my favorite question here is, what does done look like to you? That way, instead of you saying, okay, I want to make it clear. I want it in my email inbox by Thursday morning at 8 a.m. I want the spreadsheet filled out. I want. Okay? Nobody wants to hear that. We want to know what the expectations are. Absolutely. Because the expectation gap is the space between what we believe is expected and what's actually expected, or what you're expecting from others and what they believe is expected. So we want to close this out, right? So we have that conversation of like, okay, it's not actually in the email. I actually want it posted on SharePoint or whatever your information is. Then you can ask questions, right? Like, how does that work for you, right? Do we want to do it this way or in this database? And what information would you need to feed into that? What are any roadblocks that you have? But these are just some good conversations. And then you can go along and kind of say, okay, you know what done looks like to me is that we could use this information to then make a hiring decision, right? So now we're kind of connecting of like, why is this project important? Well, it's going to hinge on this hiring decision. We're going to feed this in based on the rates that you're putting into this spreadsheet, for this project report. And we're going to put everybody's together. And that's how we're going to know how to make the right decisions. Okay. So we're getting deep into that, what good looks like. So there isn't questions on, oh, I thought we just fill out this row or whatnot. So that's the expectation gap closed. Well, for the moment, we may have to go back. The third gap is the accountability gap. And accountability doesn't have to be that uncomfortable conversation because you're already clear on the expectations. And you can just ask, when could you have that report in? Thursday's the latest. If they choose Thursday, that's fine. But it's got to be that conversation. And then this is the one I want you to write down or pause it maybe and then listen to this again when you're pulled over at your desk, or maybe you're on YouTube right now and you're watching me. But what are the consequences? We're setting a deadline. We're doing a mutual expectation. We've shown up so that we're perceiving each other and how we intend. but what are the consequences if we don't do what we said we're going to do? So if I don't hand it in Thursday at 8, and all you're going to do is just call them at 9 and say, hey, I still need this. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I got busy. I got caught up. It doesn't work. That's not world-class manufacturing. That is not manufacturing greatness, right? That's someone else said the other day, manufacturing midness. Like that's just average. You want to be great. We want to be great. And as an industry, we need to be great. And these are some of the sloppy areas that we need to clean up, which is how we show up, how we make those expectations clear, and how we close that accountability gap. So then we know that, hey, if you don't hand it in by 8, well, then that's a performance issue, right? That's even a break in trust. Because it's one thing, it's one consequence not to have it done for 8 o'clock on Thursday. It's something different if we just don't even say anything and then we just don't hand it in because we got busy. Versus, hey, I'm going to call on Wednesday. I'm going to call on Wednesday morning. I'm going to say, I'm struggling a little bit. I'm missing some data. I need some help. This machine's down. A customer called. Okay, well, we can't just say because something's going to happen. If you're working in manufacturing, probably if you're listening to this, something's going to happen. So we still have to hit that date. So what else would we need to do in order to still hit that date? I'm not big on concessions on pushing it out unless it's catastrophic, because there's always going to be a reason to push it out, right? Just let's figure it out. Let's budget the time. Let's make the expectations manageable, right? So this isn't the old Trevor where I might say, just make it happen, like mock away. That was when I was struggling sometimes in leadership, where I believed that was motivation. I could just push people. And I got feedback that, Trevor, stop doing that. And I did. And it's more just like, hey, what do you need to make this work? So those conversations don't have to be that difficult. But so we're probably thinking, okay, Trevor, that all sounds great. But what if it doesn't get handed at 8? Well, that's what I call that in-person conversation, right? That's where we're going to go talk one-on-one. We're going to say, hey, we talked about the expectations. Were those all clear, right? It was due at 8. And what are we in control of? Maybe something happened that we couldn't get it done for some extenuating circumstance. But what is the reason for not letting me know, not communicating, not working together? That's in our control, right? How we communicate, how we show up for each other, how we make those expectations clear, and how we hold each other accountable. Then it becomes a performance issue. And then I'm okay about performance management. But I'm just not the person. And I don't think I know it's not what manufacturing needs. Like, okay, you know what? You're late. We're going to document that. We're going to put that in your record of employment. We're going to, have some negative consequence on a verbal warning. It's just something we hide behind instead of just looking them in the eyes and kind of say, what does that mean to our relationship that wasn't handed in and you didn't even call me? Right? Well, what's going on between you and I? Because I know when I've had leaders or peers or just anybody that I work with that I respect, I don't want to let them down. If I've said I'm going to do something, that's integrity. That's what, some of our core values around being authentic and being integral and doing what we say we're going to do. So let's try that this week. If you got something that you're depending on someone on, question yourself first before you go to them. How am I showing up? Have I taken the time to make the expectations clear? I'm not asking if you told them 3 times. I'm asking, have you had a conversation so that they can kind of go back and forth? It's not repeat after me, right? It's having a back and forth conversation of what good looks like on that expectation and what those consequences are of when it's actually due and what does that mean? What you'll find is when you get to the third gap, accountability, you might make a mistake on the first 2, right? You might miss something on the showing up gap or an expectation gap. So then you got to kind of go back. Okay, but I tell you, it won't be every Thursday that you're going to be chasing after this report. You follow these 3 steps, you have the deeper conversation, and above all else, stay curious. Be curious in what happened. Be curious in how you're showing up. Be curious about those expectations. Be curious about the accountability. And let's just see what we could learn and what are the facts and how do we become better connected on what good looks like so we can manufacture some greatness. So stay curious. Check out manufacturingreatness.com/subscribe. We're going to do more stories like this, more applications, and the more that the stories that we gather and we work together as a community, we'll be able to better solve problems as an industry. Book comes out May 11th, 2027, and you subscribe to the newsletter, links in here. We'll be downloading, give you more materials. I want to give you more resources so we can all manufacture some more greatness. Until next time, stay curious.